Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Tuesday, December 19, 2023. Yes, we're back. Last Tuesday morning, our last show with good friend and colleague Travis Geiger from WagerWire, who is blessed and in the studios live from Arizona this week. Shout out to his Graham Dottie. So good to have met you this morning. Thank you so much for allowing us to be live at your home today. Got a little ill, sick at an inopportune time. Had no voice for most of the week. But we're back. It's so good to have this voice. It's so good to be back. Shout out to the gentlemen behind the glass, Joe Shea and Evan Lewis, who are both battling the same thing that I did last week. Get healthy, gentlemen. And, of course, our proud sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded this app, shame on you. Do yourself a service. Run over to Google Play. Run over to wherever you download these apps. Download it. It's free. Top right corner is the logo right there. Get yourself acclimated to this app. Start tracking your wagers. Start checking in on your ROI. Myself, East Coast Sports Investors, have a lot of plans in store for 2024, some power lunches on a day-to-day basis on how we can buy a stock. That's what we're doing here. We're talking sports, but these are stocks, and how we are going to invest into these stocks, and then we're going to actually turn a profit before they mature. And WagerWire allows us to do that. So shout out to them. And listen, we still have 6 days till Christmas. Why not put a little money in your pocket? Why not join the affiliate program with Travis, with Zach, and the rest of their team and community at WagerWire? Send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, and the rest of their team will take good care of you. But without further ado, the star of this show every Tuesday morning, of course, the CXO himself, the one and only Mr. Travis Geiger.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Travis. 'Tis the season. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. It's good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Good to see you again.
You know, we muscled through the show last Tuesday morning, waited till the wife got home, did the testing, and let's just say waved the white flag for the rest of the week. And but we're up. We're feeling great. Actually got a little cardio in. I was talking to you backstage about the hurricane that we had yesterday, but we survived and advanced. So we're glad to have you here. Glad to have, not from LA, but in Arizona today, correct?
I'm in Arizona. I'm in Phoenix with my lovely grandmother and my sister, who's freshly back from the last frontier of Alaska, on my way home to see my parents for the holidays. So All good stuff. It is the season, like you said.
Well, we talked a lot backstage, so let's start the show like we always do. Give everyone. There's a lot of people watching right now, all over the social media and the platforms. A little background of yourself, WagerWire, the story behind WagerWire, and where we are today.
Yeah, so the quick version is WagerWire allows you to sell your sports bets, and I mean the ones that are in progress. So forget cash out. This allows you to put it up for sale on the free market. You can set your price. We actually give you a suggested price based on what we think it's worth. By the way, if you didn't want to sell, you just wanted to see what it was worth, you can do that right now. You can go to wagerwire.com/calculator, put in the odds that you bought the bet at, what you paid for it, and you can put in the current odds, and we can tell you what that bet is worth. You can compare that to cash out too. You can also put your cash out offer right in there, and we can tell you if you're getting ripped off. And I have a sneaky suspicion you might be. But our dream is to basically make any bet sellable and any contest entry sellable, to be able to stake March Madness entries, to be able to sell action if you're in your Circa Survivor contest. So what do we do? How do we do this? Well, we're not fly by night. We're not ticket scalpers. We partner directly with the casinos. We plug into their servers. We API integrate. It's real-time trading. We're winning those contracts one by one. We're trying to prove that this is not only good for the goose, but good for the gander. We think it's going to change the industry, make it healthier. It's going to make people bet more and more like investors. And it's also going to give them more profit opportunities, which we can talk about some today.
Well, perfect lead in. Yourself and Zach were a part of, I think it was well over 3,000, 4,000 entries. No, actually 9,000 entries, right? In the Survivor at Circa. Anyone not familiar, it's the greatest contest in the world. Jeffrey Benson at Circa. It sounds so simple. Just invest $1,000, and each week you pick one team to win, not die, to win. You survive and advance to the next week. Now, there's a few curveballs with Thanksgiving, with Christmas. Yourself, Travis, made it to what week was it?
Week 10. And and you can't pick the same team twice. So it's classic Survivor rules with some twist, like you said.
Yes. So give us the lead in, and you got up to week 10. Your team, the Bengals, unfortunately, with a lot of other people, had the Bengals that week that lost. But lead us what your $1,000 entry was, and leading up to that week, actually what the net worth was on that ticket.
Yeah. So like you said, $1,000 entry, right? We made it to week 10. That group of 9,000 was down to 1,000. We were in the top 1,000. So, we're knocking on like 10 grand is what our bet was, our entry was worth. So we're up 10x. We had some friends that wanted in, and we were like, oh, let's just wait till the Bengals and say la vie. So you got to know when to hold them and when to sell them. The cool thing about WagerWire is, and this is what we can talk about today, we could have staked that entry, because I'm talking about a side deal with my friends. That's what everyone's talking about on the internet. People are saying get lawyers involved. They're looking at the terms and conditions, because I'm sure this is what you're getting to. Now there's 10 people left in this contest, and at a $9 million prize pool, each of those entries is worth $1 million. So you paid $1,000. There's 9 people left. You're holding on to $1 million, and it's all or nothing. So you should actually tell the story better than me about the ultimatum that was given between the remaining group, when it was a group of 13 before the games that just played.
So leading up to last week, where 4 people? There were 13. 4 people actually lost, and I'm just reading what the internet is telling me. I've heard couple different stories, but here's what I heard. $9.2 million top prize, winner take all, unless obviously it's split at the end. Supposedly 12 of 13 people agreed upon each entry getting $500,000 and competing for the last 2.6, 2.7 in winner take all. And supposedly It almost sounded like a jury intervening in the back, and 12 said yes, one said no, and it only takes that one no, and so they moved on, and 4 people are out. So as you said, they're down to 9. Each selection now is worth just over $1 million. So let's play the game here. If you guys were in Circa right now, how would this work?
Yeah. So basically, we plug right into the app. So in this instance, it's a little bit unique because Circa is in is a Nevada-based thing, but they have a Nevada-based app. So we would be right in there the same way you would manage and look at your normal Circa entries. There would basically be a sell button, right next to it. And that's what we're doing with regular bet slips. Like if you go into your betting wallet in whatever app, if WagerWire is in there, you're going to be able to see a sell button. And if you click it, it's going to give you a suggested price and you can post it to the market at any point in time. So 12 out of 13 people wanted the sell button next to their entry. Maybe even not all of it, of course. You made it this far. You want to ride at least some of the upside, but that $1,000 and they're staring down a stack of a couple 100,000 that they could all split between them. If we had this, those guys wouldn't have to be in an all or nothing situation. They wouldn't have to hang it all on that other person agreeing. Maybe some of them are making side agreements. We don't know. What we do is we legitimize it. We make it up front. We work with the casino. Derek and Jeffrey, like they're really progressive guys. They're really cool guys. I'm sure that this is something that they're going to add to the contest eventually. I hope, because it's cruel, Jeff, unless that's part of the game, being so cruel to get your entry up from $1,000 to $1 million and crash out. I think that people that have crashed out of the contest, like myself, would easily buy back in, and we'd pay a vig to do it. Like I would love to stake. I would have staked some of those 13 guys. I'd still stake some of these 9 guys that are left. I think the same thing goes for March Madness brackets. A lot of people crap out early, but they see a bracket that they like. They would love to buy a stake in it. It's not unlike poker. So, what we talk about with the sports bets is almost like the stock market, but this is almost like staking a traditional like poker game almost.
So I understand this, and everyone watching, we have a boatload of people watching right now, new to this channel, new to this show every Tuesday. Turn on the notifications, follow us, run over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors, and subscribe. It's free. Go to WagerWire, follow them, of course, follow Travis, follow Zach, and download the app at wagerwire.com, obviously, if you haven't done that. So let's play the game. And I'm glad you brought up poker, because there's an actual tournament going on right now that there was $1 million buy-in for this poker tournament. And I know there are websites out there where they actually sell shares of their buy-ins without markup. Some, excuse me, people mark it up. Okay, so you got 9 people left. Their tickets each worth $1.2 million, or whatever the exact number is. So it would say Jeff Dawson, and it would say $1.2 million. Now, I don't have to sell the whole thing, right? If you wanted to buy 5%, another guy wanted to buy 5%, someone wanted to buy 10%. Hey, I might want to sell 50% and ride 50%. You don't have to sell the whole ticket, correct?
No, what's cool is you can field bids, right, without having to accept it, or you could just put up the what you're willing to part with and what price you're willing to part with it at, and someone can fill that order. Basically, we have a slider that you can say, I want to sell 50%, 10%, 5%, and then with that, we'll actually toggle the suggested price of what you would actually earn from that, and then we can tell you your profit. So it's just going to be a lot minus 1,000 is basically your profit margin, but you can decide how much you want to take off the table.
Shout out to Amber. She said she loves this show. Amber, thank you so much. Happy holidays. Yeah, I just can't think of $1,000 investment, and as this is progressing, survive and advance. The NFL stands for not for long, and there are train wrecks every week. So I know myself, I would have probably sold shares where you guys were in 9 or 10, and I'd be fielding offers every week. Hey, let me just keep adding more,
just
adding
10%,
more.
dude. Honestly, once you get week 10, I mean, that was kind of what we were thinking is like week 10, just sell off 10% every week. Just take it. Maybe you probably end up with a couple million if you survive to the end. But against 9, it's a bird in the hand. Who knows? Who knows? And by the way, if like you said, if more than one person makes it all the way, you have to split the pot. So in a weird way, there's kind of game theory when people feel like, hey, maybe you're going to be the one guy, or they're looking at your ticket's going to cash 9 million. But in theory, in the back of your head, you're like, well, if I finish with another person, it's really 4.5, and I finish with 3 people, it's 3 million. But you can be bidding out your ticket as if you were in a winner take all, or maybe. But see, this is like, it's a fun thing, and it's an advancement of the conversation, because there's all these really cool conversations happening around specifically this contest and all contests. And WagerWire just makes it interactive, right? Like, it's one thing to watch VSiN and hear people talk about it, like, good for that guy, sweet, he's going to win money and I'm not. It's another thing to be like, you know what? I see something here and I want to get in on it. Let me go down to Circa, or let me sign up for a Circa account. Let me get involved with this book and this play and be a part of the story.
And as you guys are progressing, we have talked now the past couple of weeks and on your congratulating you week to week. You started with Jake Paul and Bedar. You talked about stations a couple of weeks ago. Last week, RT Sports. You see the progression here. A contest like this, you talked about March Madness. Do you think this is probably the way to go? Hey, let's get our foot in the door in these contests. Let everyone see how easy this is. And then it's almost like a no-brainer. Like, hey, guys, I guess FOMO is a good word to use there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think about March Madness brackets, it's very like front-loaded when all those games are going on, and then you're busted. I mean, Purdue's back to the 1 seed, but, they lost to a 16 and just killed everyone immediately, right? So what we think that this does is it gives brackets more of a lifespan. It gives you more of a way to be invested. Even if you're last in your bracket pool, you can buy into the guy that's in first, or you could back your friend. We're working on that right now with RT Sports, Real Time Sports, who is going to be our first, real money partner. Where if my, engineers are listening right now, as soon as we get our pricing algorithm which is quite complicated and first of its kind, with they're not player prop parlays when they're pick'em entries. They're in this instance, they're straight pick'em entries, but there's teasers, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. There's win probabilities while it's in progress. There's some really high profile data partnerships that I can't actually leak and announce, but we have the best data, the most real-time player-based, point-based, real-time in-game data that's going to be pricing these. And that's going to carry over to these brackets, right? What starts in pick'em, then you can look at, if a bracket has 4 or 5 games happening, we can actually be crunching the probability that you're going to win your bracket pool, that you're going to do whatever. We had a guy who actually was the director of content at PointsBet. His name is Matt Chaparellis. Follow him on Twitter, Parlay City. He was number 7 on DraftKings last year, going into the Final Four, right? He had Gonzaga and didn't work out for him, but we did the math on his entry and it was a 7-figure prize. At that time, it was worth $50K, and that entry fee was $2K. But man, it's like, get your entry fee back at a minimum. If you've made it to the Final Four, you're in the top 10 or top 50, like us. We should have gotten our $1,000 back from a couple friends now that we 10x'd it. And so what we're building is just something we want to use that we think other people are going to want to use. We don't think that we're alone in saying like betting should be more social, should be more interactive, and there should be more ways to win.
Yeah, and I'm going to circle back to Circa for 1 second here. And the contest, they have a rule there, up to 10 entries. So there are a lot of people, should we say whales, let's say groups of friends, teams, syndicates, as I like to call them in the business, that says, hey, we're going to get 10 entries. and we're going to invest $10,000 and we're going to see how far we can take this. Now, some of these people will push all in on a quote unquote 17-point favorite that can't lose. And of course, you know what happens. They lose. If and when, I'm not going to say if, when you guys are finally locked in here, I think what's going to end up happening, Travis, and interested to hear what you have to say, is you're going to find a lot of sharper people that are going to say, I'm going to wait for the train wrecks in game 3, in week 3, in week 6, in week 9. And then with the availability of WagerWire, instead of spending $10,000 before the pre-flop, we can now spend $10,000 elsewhere and buy shares of stock in other people.
Maybe. I think that everyone should do 10 entries now because you have less downside, right? Before it's 10 entries, they probably all go to 0, you're out 10 grand. But if you're really sharp, if you really believe in yourself and you're like, oh, it's a cakewalk to week 4, it's a cakewalk to week 7, I can make it to week 10. Well, shoot, get 10 entries in the money. They don't all have to go to 0. So while I do hear what you're saying, you could max out your entries and stake other entries.
This is just mind-boggling because listen, you can't turn a TV on without seeing a commercial from one of the top dogs, whether it's DraftKings, FanDuel, or whoever it is. I see Jamie Foxx in my sleep every night, and they're just grabbing the stars. And I know everyone understands what I'm thinking of here, but the fact of the matter is, you guys are on the cusp of greatness, where I think this is just going to be like breathing in 25, 26, where all these sports books, you know, whether it's a fantasy book or whether, you know, it's a Circa, a BetMGM, a Caesars, someone of that point, this is going to be an integral part of their back ends.
Yeah. I mean, all right, I'll poke the bear a little bit. Caesars, if you want to be something more than just a green spreadsheet, and BetMGM, if you want to be something more than just a gold spreadsheet, just like how Max and Bet was a purple spreadsheet, just like how Tipico is a red spreadsheet. If you want to be something more than a spreadsheet, if you want to be a thing that people use, love, if you want to differentiate yourself, you're not just going to be able to buy people with commercials and bonuses. You're going to have to offer a different experience. And the big guys know that. DraftKings, FanDuel, they're going a million miles an hour. And I just really hope that it doesn't become a monopoly, a duopoly. I hope that these other books, these legacy books, who are near and dear to our heart, that they are able to get their product to a place where it's an offering that the bettors deserve. Because right now, I don't think that the bettors are being served. I think that WagerWire is a quick fix. Cost them nothing. Plug us right in. Call your senator. Tell them to put WagerWire in their sports book.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it perfectly because, you know, outside looking in, since 2013 and 14 and January 1st, 2015, when East Coast Sports Investors launched, in less than 2 weeks, we will be celebrating our 9-year anniversary. We were light years ahead of everyone about the sports, about the investing.
They're calling you, Jeff. They heard me. They're like, get this guy off the air.
Yes. And the fact of the matter is I think some of these big books just want it to be entertainment, where we're trying to talk about sports and sports investing. And that's the end of the game, because those free bonuses and those free plays, those match plays with all the stipulations, they run out eventually. And sooner or later, you're going to have to dig into your pocket and deposit on your own.
Yeah. I mean, is it entertaining when you win one time and PointsBet limits you to $5? I don't know. I think that the bettors are waking up, right? And honestly, things are kind of stalling out. You see ESPN, who I actually believe in what they're doing. And listen, I give everyone who's running a sports book a ton of credit. It's a very, very hard thing to do. But the American public has higher standards than I think that these companies were ready for.
Well, we could talk for hours here with dozens and dozens of people just live right here. Never mind the hundreds and hundreds that are on YouTube and everywhere else. Let's show them some charts and graphs that we brought up and see where everyone is. Today, I'll actually enlarge in this for everyone here. Give me 1 second. And there we go.
Interesting, right? So here we got the Final Four, college football. the thing that stands out to me in this chart is that somehow Washington and Texas ended up at exactly the same bet value, even though they started at different starting points and they had different journeys. Michigan and Alabama obviously were more heavily favorited when the season started. So that's where they're at. I would be interested to see what you think, Jeff. Where's the most value of the 4 teams on this chart?
Okay, so looking at this right now, the current odds, January 1st, the semifinals will be played. Currently, Michigan is 1.5-point favorites over Alabama. And currently, Texas is 4.5-point favorites over Washington. As I said to you backstage, the quick, easy breakdown was, well, Alabama's going to beat Michigan. Texas is going to beat Washington. They're going to have the revenge game from week 4 in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama holds the championship. Nick Saban, SEC wins. That was the quick 2 seconds. Check the box. Alabama's the champion. The more and more I started digging in. Now, Alabama played Arkansas, let's say 2 months ago. After they had lost to Texas, their stock was going down. On DraftKings in the afternoon, our second alert at ECSI, we sent out Alabama plus 2,000. And a lot of things had to happen, obviously. They had to win the rest of their games. They had to beat LSU, and obviously they had to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game and hope they got in. Everything worked great. So for us, it would have been great, other than using a DraftKings cash out right now, sitting with an Alabama plus 2,000. I would love to have WagerWire there to see what your price tag is and then do some hedging here. So the whole world's on Alabama, guys. I thought this might even go to a pick 'em, Alabama -1. I'm starting to see some sharper money come back in on the Michigan side. So I lean Michigan in a 24-20 type style game in game 1. Game 2, no one respects Washington. Everyone thought Oregon was going to be there. In comes Washington, Penix Jr., undefeated. They beat Oregon not once but twice, which is, I thought Oregon was the best team in the country coming into that Pac-12 championship. Shame on me. Texas, both sides of the ball. The key to this game, very simply, is how much pressure Texas can put on Penix Jr. If they put pressure on him, Texas will win the game. If they do not put pressure on Penix Jr., Washington is a live dog. So I think I talked to you backstage. I like the Washington plus 4.5. I think there is some good value on Washington, but I think the consensus for most people in our lanes, Travis, is the winner of Michigan, Alabama is going to win the title, and they will be favored in the championship game.
My grandma's a Buckeye. My whole family's Buckeyes, but I do have to say go blue. Sorry, Grandma.
Gun to my head today. Before, I think we'll be on the day after Christmas, and then of course we'll be right after New Year's. You and I. If someone wanted to say, Jeff, what do you think right now? I think Michigan will win the title. I think they're going to find a way to beat Alabama. And then I think they'll be playing. They'll probably be playing Texas. I'm leaning Washington, but they will be favored over either one of those teams. And I think Michigan will be your champion.
All right, there it is. You heard it here first. You want to roll into college ball?
Sure.
All right. So we made these charts before the show. As we know, there was a crazy roller coaster of a tournament last year. We talked about Purdue crashing out. I guess people are saying that that's a fluke. They're back to the 1. People believe in Arizona, but then you got UConn and Florida Atlantic. So you got 2 of the Final 4 teams are kind of considered as the front runners up there with Purdue. Of course, last year we had San Diego State, which isn't on this chart here. But what do you think about the state of play? And I heard an interesting theory that I wanted to get your thoughts on, which is actually the way the teams are ranked at the beginning of the season is actually more accurate than what their seed is going into the tournament, because at the beginning of the season, they're looking at raw talent. And that's really what the tournament brings out of people, whereas how they ended up over the course of the season that determines their seed might be less determinative of their tournament gameplay.
Yes, and don't forget too. A lot of times, college football, especially, the preseason rankings are also based on how you finished last year. Now there are a little more movement in college basketball than there is in college football. But I go back, I think it was last year, North Carolina was like 7th in the country after a great run 2 years ago. And the fact is that they started off slow. They weren't even in the top 20 by 2 or 3 weeks in. Here, you got a Purdue team that played Arizona over the weekend. You got an Arizona team playing FAU this weekend. And there's my Huskies with just one loss, a 4-point loss at Kansas, getting ready for Big East play. So I hate to say this, and I talked about this. I don't know if people remember this. A handful of years ago, Virginia, the number 1 seed, lost to a 16 in the opening week of the tournament, came back the next year and won the tournament. And I think Purdue is potentially on that collision course this year. They lost to FAU to start the tournament, and then next thing you know, here they go. Edie's back. They're back. And now they're atop the number 1 seed.
Wow. That's a crazy narrative. Let's see if because that would be not only, I mean, it's very rare. Was Virginia the first team to lose to a 16? It couldn't have been.
Yes.
Yeah, first. That's what I remembered. Yeah. And then Purdue was the second team to win to lose to a 16. So if they're able to do what Virginia did, it'll be the only 2 teams to ever crash out on a 16, come back and win the national championship. I love that narrative. I don't believe in Purdue at all. Apologies to my cousin Sean. My cousin's a Boilermaker, but dude, I don't know. They would just lose to Marquette one day, wake up on the wrong. I don't know.
And that's the narrative. Okay, people remember what they saw last. I don't care if Purdue wins the rest of the year. I don't believe in the big 7'6" guy or 7'3", however tall he is today. I don't believe in Matt Painter. I don't believe in the Big Ten. There's no way. You burnt me last year. I like to say this. I'm not getting the banana in the tailpipe this year.
I mean, look, they can win the Big Ten though this year. It's not looking super great. So I don't know. I like your take, Jeff. I like the 16 to crash out championship. Maybe I'll ride that. I don't know. Let's look at our Pac-12. We're here in Arizona. SC is very disrespectfully worth a little bit more than UCLA. I have my own thoughts about USC, but what do you think about the Bruins this year in the Pac-12?
Well, I was going to ask you, being an alum, I talked to you at length. We were at the Army-Navy game, Media Row, on 2 Fridays ago. We were field passes for the game on Saturday. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it was me, Anthony Pepini, and Mark Linehan. Mark Linehan's roommate in college was Chip Kelly, the football coach of UCLA. So he was back east recruiting while I was getting the inside scoop where he was, what he was going on. Now we bring in the Bruins, who've had some great runs. Pac-12 down this year. These are your 3 characters right now. Arizona, head over heels, the team to beat. Tough loss last week. They have a good game this week against FAU. Top to bottom, as good as it gets roster-wise. There is value. If I had to take one of the 2 shares, I would lean on your Bruins. What is the temperature in Bruin territory?
Well, here's the thing. Chip Kelly, we'll put him aside for a second, although I think what he had to say recently about the college football playoff was very interesting. Mick Cronin, our basketball coach, who I very much believe in, is a Cincinnati guy, right? And he's is that Caesars is calling you? They still
it was BetMGM the first time. Now Caesars.
Well, at least we got their attention, right? So, all right. I think that they could make a run. I think that it's a Final Four. They have Final Four potential every year as long as they have a good coach, because that wooden pyramid and our recruiting is strong. And I think that the discipline has returned to both the football program and the basketball program. When it was in my era, after we made those Final Four runs, both football and basketball really slid. And let's just say people were having a little bit too much fun. But we were over on campus recently actually doing an event for WagerWire. And we also went to a business conference there, and we've been around campus, and it's a different vibe. People are taking it very seriously, not only the athletes but the students. It's a quality university, and unlike the University of Southern California, they produced really good stock.
And as you said, Chip Kelly came on how to fix the madness that's going to happen next year with the Pac-12 dissolvement, and so many people applauded his actual thought process. It made too much sense. What is the feeling in Pac-12 land in UCLA about what's about to transpire next year?
I mean, Chip's got to go. Do we have to like finish last in the Big Ten for us to just like really wake up and be like, he's very mediocre and probably not? I think he should just work for the College Football Playoff Commission or committee or whatever it is. Like, he should just go work in management for them. He's got great ideas, but he couldn't fix the Bruins, he couldn't fix the Eagles, he couldn't fix the Niners, but maybe he can fix college football.
Well, I tell you right now, people, if you're a Pac-12 fan, yes, Arizona, head over heels, the team to beat in the Pac-12. If you don't have any Arizona Wildcat portfolio stock, I'd look into cutting the nets down. Obviously, if you can get them into the Final Four as well. But your buy low spot this week definitely is the UCLA Bruins.
Love it. Love it. Now, do you still believe that the Bengals they're up from their $8 low water mark here, but do you believe in the Bengals at $12 even with no Chase and the other JB?
Well, here it is. Ravens travel to San Fran this week. We saw what they did against Jacksonville. They're 5.5-point underdogs against San Fran. It's the perfect pancake game where they beat Jacksonville. They traveled to San Fran. The real big game for the Ravens is the following week. They host Miami, which will be probably for the number 1 seed. The Dolphins play this week. Then they play the Ravens, and then they could be potentially traveling to actually hosting the Bills for the AFC East. So obviously, your Ravens tickets.
Well, look at that. Now that you brought it up, they are at a crossroads, the Ravens and the Dolphins.
Correct. So as it stands right now, and we have a graph for this, the AFC, just off the top of your head, you have the Ravens, you have the Bills, who had a great week against Dallas. They are now trending up. Miami destroys the Jets, game this week, and then next week against the Ravens. And then the Chiefs, who are not the Chiefs of the last couple of years. So here we are right here. Your buy low obviously is on the Chiefs and the Bills. I think the Ravens are the play in the AFC. Now, if you want to buy low, you should have bought low on the Bills last week before they played Dallas. It's still time to get in on Buffalo right now. But again, no one's talking about the Chiefs and Mahomes. So your two buy low value stocks obviously still are the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so interesting. If you wanted to just lay in the cut basically and see who's gonna, if the Bills were contenders or not, week 13, I could see how if you had your ear to the ground, you're like, well, look, they might actually make the playoffs, in which case it's going to catapult this bet way into the money. So, that $100 week 1 bet, it's down. I mean, it was down to almost $25 week 13. So with the East Coast method, East Coast sports investor method, if they end up making the playoffs or even the wild card, you're going to be back up to. I mean, they're already back up to $77. So you really look for those good teams that people have counted out, but that you think could actually come back and make it to, whether it's the wild card, playoff round one, conference championship division, every single time that they're advancing through a playoff scenario, these teams are obviously increasing in value, particularly elimination type of tournaments like the NCAA. I mean, those deep seeds that make it to the Sweet 16. We don't have time for the San Diego State and FAU charts from last year, but I'll give them to you to post on social. It's wild, right? You just look for that value. The Chiefs, interestingly enough, they weren't counted out in the same way as the Bills, even though they kind of are performing similarly.
Yeah, and I'm going to circle all the way back to Circa, who for the Major League Baseball and all the big tournaments at the end, they put together their exactas. And when you had an Arizona versus Texas final in Major League Baseball World Series, to have that two exactas was priceless. I will tell everyone, if you have a sports book that has something where you can go in right now, I think it's going to be tough to beat the 49ers. Okay. Now, to get a better price on the 49ers, you can now go over to the AFC and you can do a 49ers with Ravens, 49ers with Bills, 49ers with Chiefs, and 49ers with Dolphins. And you can get a lot more value on your 49er ticket and pick the four top teams in the AFC. Now, obviously, if someone comes out of the clouds, we don't have that covered, but we're covering our basis right now with the 49ers, who I think are head over heels the best team in the NFC, when you have 3 or 4 teams currently back and forth jockeying in the AFC.
That's so true. And shout out to Circa for doing that. Jeffrey and Derek, like they offer these kind of amazing opportunities for bettors that not a lot of other people have the balls to do, and they do it early. They have Kentucky Derby lines out at Circa. They're just the best. So I bust their chops, but I just think that this is the kind of thing that will be like those early lines. All the stuff that they did to innovate sports betting. WagerWire is just that. We're just another innovation in a long line of innovations, whether it's live betting, halftime betting, the points spread. We were at the, I think behind you is the Pro Sports Betting Hall of Fame, or the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. And the innovations that have been made just in the last 50 years in sports betting have changed it forever. And so when we talk about WagerWire, we're not talking about a disruption or a competition. We're just talking about a natural evolution. And Mr. Stevens, if you're listening, new money in the system. It's a post-wager revenue generating opportunity. And it's just a fun way to play.
And taking a look at the NFC right now, 49ers flexing their muscles. Now, people remember what they saw last. Eagles now have lost 3 in a row as Drew Lock and the Seattle Seahawks upset the Eagles last night on Monday Night Football. And we remember the Dallas butt whooping that they took in Buffalo, and now a 1.5 point underdogs at Miami this week. So again, we were talking Miami stock a few seconds ago. Now the Dallas stock. So let me try to paint this picture. If Miami loses this week to Dallas, and I think it's a beautiful bounce back spot for the Cowboys, Miami has to travel to the Ravens next week. So Miami could actually have a 2-game potential losing streak, because they'll be probably about 3.5 point underdogs at the Ravens next week. So if you don't have any Dolphin shares and you like Dallas this week to bounce back, hold off on your Dolphin shares, because your Dolphins could end up losing 2 weeks in a row here, and you're going to get a better value. The Dolphins will now drop to maybe where the Bills were a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Do you see value in the Cowboys right now?
If you like Dallas to win this week at Miami, and I think Dallas will win at Miami this week, buy your stock in Dallas right now. Now, here's the problem. Most likely they're Jekyll and Hyde, home and away. And if they have to play the 49ers at some point, we've already seen that script early this year when they had to travel to San Fran and San Fran mauled them. So Dallas at home, yes. If you think Dallas is going to lose this week to Miami, hold off on your shares. Wait till next week to get them after the loss to Miami. But I think you're going to see these graphs shrink because I think Dallas will beat Miami in South Beach this week.
Love it. Okay, so rounding it out with, well, somebody mentioned the Colts in the chat. Are they going to host a home playoff game?
That must be Mr. Sailor. Shout out to Mr. Sailor. Your Colts, I don't know how they're doing it. They just keep winning. I don't see Peyton Manning over there, Edgar and James, Marshall Falk. But you guys just keep doing it. Hats off to there. And the same with the Texans. Just give D'Amico Ryan the coach of the year now. No CJ Stroud, no problem. Down big in Tennessee. Find a way to come all the way back with Case Keenum. Right now, two-man race there. Colts and Texans. May the best man win there. Hats off to Mr. Sailor and his Colts. But right now, they're a two-man race in that division.
Week 18, Colts, Texans for the AFC South. That's probably true. And then don't forget the Bengals play the Browns. I want the Bengals to knock the Browns out. And I don't know. Let's see how far they can go with my boy Jake Browning. I still think the Bengals are buy low, despite what anyone says. I don't think they're done, even without number one receiving. Okay, let's go look at this disaster of a graph, which is maybe not out of character when you look at the teams that are in it. So let's start May 1st because it's just easier on the eyes. You said that people had high hopes for the Saints, and I really do believe in Jameis, same way I believe in Tua. What do you think about this mess of a graph here?
Well, it's funny. Is it Derek Carr? Is it Taysom Hill? Is it Jameis? No Michael Thomas, no Olave last week. I don't know if Olave's playing this week, but they're finding ways to win. But out of nowhere, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have just shocked the world. They went into Lambeau and just boat raced the Packers. Now short favorites this week at home against the Jags, and I don't think there'll be a Trevor Lawrence there. So it'll be interesting to see if Trevor is going to play there. But look how this is flip-flop. Pre-flop, it was the Saints. I know a lot of sharp people were on the Falcons. Sounds like the Falcons aren't sure who's going to quarterback this week. Is it Desmond Ridder? Is it Heineke? Maybe they can pull Matt Ryan out of the stands. I don't know, but they don't know either. So hats off to the Bucs. I mean, if you're a Saints fan or a Falcon fan and don't believe in Baker, it's a buy now. But I kind of like what I'm seeing with Baker, to be honest with you, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion on Baker, but I was actually looking at this preseason. Okay, so this is in June, July, Jeff. Look at this swing. $150 up from $100 before a game's even played. On what was going on here? Is this the trade deadline? Is this news? And then same thing like with the Bucs slipping. It's crazy because to get this kind of movement, as we've looked at from the other charts in season, you're looking at either a monster win that puts you like in playoff contention or a monster loss that takes you out of it. But the swing, 100 down to almost 50 or 100 up to 50. This is to say you can trade futures bets before the season even starts and make money. You could buy in when, May 1st, sell out June 1st, wait till it dips back to week one, basically buy back in week one at just a slight markup, but you already, took some money off the table. You can play momentum swings, not just in games, but in news cycles and trades and rumors. So that's what's really interesting about WagerWire too, because people like you and your audience, you're really plugged in. You guys know the alpha before it's even tweeted out or it's on ESPN. So you can front run the public, it's just interesting that without any games, we're seeing that much movement.
Yeah, again, all on speculation, who's going to be added, who's not going to be added. I mean, we could go back in the mindset when Aaron Rodgers, where was Aaron Rodgers going? And all the speculation again, and that's what this market's all about. So we'll be doing a lot of shows leading up to the draft. Okay, so once we get to the draft, there could be as many as 5 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 this year. So what is the Bears going to do at 1? Are they keeping Justin Fields? They drafting Marvin Harrison. Are the Patriots moving up to take Caleb? Are they sitting back for Derek May? So you're going to see some speculation in the markets leading up to draft day. And of course, once these quarterbacks land, then you're going to see some peaks and valleys. It's just crazy, Travis.
How hilarious is this chart? So it's by the way, we're revamping these. This is a little bit hard because they're the exact same shade, lime green. Alex, if you're listening, we'll shade these differently next time. The Rodgers trade, right? Yep. Almost doubles the Jets. Oh my gosh, the Jets, they could really do it. And then Monday night, dun, 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 and they're cooked. And obviously you can see the inverse, right? This is the Packers over here. As soon as they lose Rodgers, Packers go down. They take a step down, not like this rocket ship up. But then it only takes 2 weeks until they're swapping positions, right? And now the Packers are in the money. Of course, the Packers then go on that kind of slide. It looked like they got a shot. Still not technically out of it, but unlikely. Whereas the Jets are better luck next time.
It's crazy, Travis, what you guys have to offer to the public, to the social media. And again, our goal very simply is to tell the world it's here, it's right in front of us. And our goal here at ECSI is always to educate with a slight entertainment value. We'll tell a joke here and there once in a while, but the point is, again, to turn this not into entertainment, but to see the value and to turn, a sports wager, which we call an investment, into profit before maturity.
Yeah, Jeff. I mean, we're very, very passionate about WagerWire existing. We're very, very passionate about its inevitability. Like we said, we think it's going to make the whole industry healthier. We're out there fighting every day. We're taking the side door in. If we have to fly around in private jets with Jake Paul to make some noise, so be it, right? But we think that this is, by the way, which we really believe in that company. I think Better is kind of poo-pooed. People have opinions of them, especially kind of the old guard. They don't know what to make of them. I really think that they're serious about it, just like he's serious about boxing. I think him and Joey Levy, and of course Joey started Simple Bet, which powers that next play stuff, that in-game betting. People didn't think people were going to bet in-game. People didn't think people were going to live bet, micro bet on pitches, right? They didn't even know how to do it. Well, Joey created the data feed that made it possible. He had to prove it out in Europe. He got a partner in Jake Paul so he could make some noise because the establishment wasn't listening. And now the establishment is lining up, waiting to try to plug in that technology, and they can't be the ones without it. We know that WagerWire is going to be that same thing. If you're a book that doesn't offer the ability to sell people their bets, the bettors aren't going to bet with you. Why would I limit my own optionality? You're going to offer me a cash out sometimes and you're going to rip me off, or I could go to this book and I can sell it whenever I want and play with my friends and send some to my buddy. I'm going to go with that book. So I know I sold a little oversold it today, but we're out here and 2024 is our year. So then this is our platform and you're our guy and we couldn't be happier.
And I caught up on some of the notes. Shout out, happy holidays to Mr. Saylor. He says that Alabama minus 241 on the no. And again, the public perception, especially the first couple of weeks once these lines were opened up, Mr. Saylor, was, Alabama going to SEC dominance. They're the hottest team since sliced bread. I think the reality is set in, and you go back to Michigan, Iowa. Once Michigan scored, the game was over because they knew Iowa couldn't score. And Jim Harbaugh didn't show one play in his playbook. You're going to see a way different Wolverine offense against Bama there. Colts hosting a playoff game this year. Don't count it out there, sir. Colts and Texans, AFC South, Week 18 for all the marbles. Says your Bengals 75-1 to win the AFC. Listen, I call it beer and pizza money. There's never listen, it's just a sprinkle. Add it to the portfolio. You want to add these to the portfolio because if they get in, then you have hedge opportunities always in the first game. Hey, I invested X. It's worth Y. Let me at least have a little on the left side game one. I made money. I had a stake in the action. I can't wait until next year till Joe and the rest of the team gets healthy.
Yeah. I mean, whenever they play, even without Joe, they're a different team than the Bengals I grew up with, which almost turned me into a Packers fan. That's how bad they were. Yeah. It's a new era.
Closing thoughts on the week before Christmas for you, for Zach, and the rest of the Wager Wire community and team.
I would say take the holidays and think, and just love on your family. Mental health is very important. You don't have to be betting through every family function. Honestly, discretion is the better part of valor. That's Zach's favorite quote. It's William Shakespeare quote. So only bet what you can afford to lose. Just like when you walk into a casino. If you have a problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. We're also here to help. Right today on our Twitter, we have two really great shows. One is with Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report and Daniel Wallach, who's a top-notch sports betting attorney. They're coming on our Twitter Spaces at 4 p.m. I think I'm on Mountain Time. Check our Twitter. And then we actually have a betting 101 education show with our betting guru Elliot G. We call her Miss G when she's the playing professor on Twitter. So two things today. If you're interested in kind of getting in our ecosystem, seeing what we're about on our shows, we have basically our legal sports report show with Sam and Dan Wallach, and we also have our betting 101 show 2 hours after that. This is on Twitter Spaces. We're at WagerWire. We're a good time. We tweet these charts out. Jeff tweets the charts out. We're getting our Instagram stood up at WagerWire Live, TikTok at WagerWire Live, getting our YouTube's at WagerWire. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time. And trust me, we're only hitting the gas more. Our feet are lead and we're not stopping.
I always say, keep the feet moving forward. The movement is moving, as my good friend, Mr. Pops DiBiase always says. Blessed, honored to be a part of this. And I say it every show, whether it's the breakfast bankroll, whether it's the midday market report, the closing bell. In 2024, we're going to be doing power lunches. We're going to be doing so much more. Just to be a part of this, and as I like to say, to be able to see through the trees, and I'll close with this. In 2013 and 2014, when I brought my vision about East Coast sports investors to a good friend of mine, Rick Thomas, I drove 8.5 hours from Cape Cod to Delaware with my business plan, my vision. And he looked me straight in the eye, Travis, and he goes, Jeff, I have one question. Are you tough skinned? I say, of course. He goes, I'm in. And this was 5 years before PASPA even passed. So day one, when I launched this January 1st, 2015, and I said sports investing, I got crushed by the trolls for 18 straight months. This was, who were you? You're gambling like the rest of us. I put the cotton in the ears and I just kept doing our work. And now if you go on social media, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, everyone is a sports investor. So I give ourselves every morning a little tap there because, as you said, we're here, we're trailblazing. We believe, and we believe in you, Travis, Zach, WagerWire. Your team, your community is second to none. We thank you.
Thanks, man. And we're going to be doing big things. So everybody watching, look out for Jeff and I next year, because he's going to be the Jim Cramer of sports betting. You watch.
Shout out to Graham. Thank you, Dottie. It was so great to meet you. Happy holidays. Hope to talk to you soon. To everyone else watching and listening, thank you guys. It was a great hour here with Travis before the holidays. Hope to catch him the day after Christmas. If not, we'll make sure we have this show next week at some time. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Travis Geiger at WagerWire CXO. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to the rest of the team, the community at WagerWire. We thank you all. Amber, thank you so much for joining. Mr. Sailor, go Colts. Everyone, have a great day, and we will see you soon.